warm welcome to today's edition of Money Moves. I am Melissa Enoch here at the FMDQ studios in Lagos.
And I'm Grace Legbarago. It's Thursday, the 27th of August. We thank you for joining us at this time on the show.
All right, let's begin with news now. Zambia's annual inflation rate has eased to 6.2% in August from 6.5% in July, reaching its lowest level since February 2018. The slowdown was supported by a stronger kwacha, which helped contain the cost of imported goods, while month-on-month inflation rose 0.2%. The latest reading keeps inflation near the lower end of the Bank of Zambia's 6% to 8% target range. In central banking news, the National Bank of Rwanda has raised its key interest rate to 8.75% from 8.25%, taking the rate to its highest level since 2009. The 50 basis point hike marks a third consecutive rate increase as the central bank moves to contain inflation. Let's listen.
Global economic growth is projected to decline to 3% from a growth of 3.5% we had last year, and pick up again in 2027 with a global growth of 3.4%. In sub-Saharan Africa, there will also be a slight slowdown of the economy with growth of 4.3% projected for 2026. With economic growth picking up again to 4.5%, which is the level that we had for sub-Saharan Africa in 2025. And these challenges or slowing down of the economy, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, are reflecting challenges of higher import costs, particularly oil, gas, and fertilizer, due to the conflict in the Middle East. And for the global economic growth is lower than initially projected at the beginning of the year, with the impact of the Middle East conflict and supply chain disruptions and global trade. On inflation, the current geopolitical issues, energy crisis have led to increased inflationary pressures. For global inflation forecast, these are data that we have from the IMF. 2026 inflation globally is projected to increase to 4.7% from 4.1%, but declining in 2027 to 3.9%. For sub-Saharan Africa, the region had a double-digit inflation in 2025. That inflation is projected to slow down to 8.8%. However, the disinflation path for sub-Saharan Africa is not as
In earnings news, Kestrel Capital reported a strong turnaround in the first half of 2026, swinging to a 15.5 million Kenyan shillings profit after tax from 16.3 million Kenyan shillings loss a year earlier, as total income surged 157.7% to 179.8 million Kenyan shillings. Operating profits reached 25.8 million Kenyan shillings, reversing a 17.5 million Kenyan shillings loss in the prior year period, despite expenses rising 76.3% to 153.9 million Kenyan shillings. Total assets grew 22.9% to 476.7 million Kenyan shillings, while shareholders' funds rose 19.5% to 152.7 million Kenyan shillings as of June 30, 2026. Liquid capital more than doubled to 63.5 million Kenyan shillings, remaining well above the 30 million Kenyan shillings regulatory minimum. Still on earnings, South African gold producer Harmony Gold has reported an 87% rise in annual profits, supported by higher gold prices despite lower production. Headline earnings per share rose to 43.63 rands in the year to June 30 from 23.37 rand a year earlier. Gold production fell 3% to 1.43 million ounces, but a 35% increase in the average gold price helped boost earnings. Harmony Gold declared a record annual dividend of 7.50 Rand per share, nearly 5 times last year's payout, while copper output from its CSA mine in Australia reached 18,207 tons. In the meantime, the Mwango Capital Markets Forum 2026 brought together senior investors, policymakers, and business leaders to discuss Kenya's investment outlook. In a panel discussion on capital allocation, experts examining where investment is flowing, what is driving decisions, and what policy and market conditions could unlock more capital. Here are some excerpts.
Now, where are investors, with all this money circulating in the economy, where are investors allocating capital? On our end, and I would say at Avocap, probably a good blueprint of what is happening. Investors are looking for alternative capital allocation vehicles. And we have seen that growth over the last 18 months. The growth of investment, our clients allocating capital through your special funds. We have grown our fund from less than 500 million to over 17 billion within 18 months. And that speaks to clients are looking for alternative investment vehicles. So as we are looking at in terms of how do we then allocate across that, and we found a very interesting statistics across how they invest in. That on one side, there is that flight to safety, as Madam Elizabeth has said. The fixed income fund is still our largest fund because clients are allocating a lot into that. But then once they create their safety net, we are seeing investors now look.
In Botswana, the central bank has kept its monetary policy rate unchanged at 5.5%, maintaining the rate for a second consecutive meeting. The Bank of Botswana said previous rate hikes had improved liquidity conditions and supported the foreign exchange market. Annual inflation eased to 9.4% in July from 10.7% in June, but remains above the central bank's target range. In Kenya, I&M Group has reported a 22.35% rise in half-year net profit to 10.17 billion Kenyan shillings, supported by stronger lending income and growth in non-interest revenue. Net interest income also rose 22.52% to 25.04 billion Kenyan shillings in the 6 months to June 2026. Group CEO Maina shares more. Let's listen. Finally, on News Now, Fitz Russell is set to reclassify Nigeria from unclassified to frontier market status, clearing uncertainty over the country's planned return to the index category. The reclassification, initially scheduled for September 2026, is expected to proceed despite concerns over Nigeria's shift from a T+2 to T+1 equity settlement cycle in June. The move could boost Nigeria's visibility among international investors after FTSE placed the reclassification under further review over concerns that T+1 could require pre-funding of equity trades. I am Melissa Enoch, and that's it on News Now for today. The show returns shortly after the break with Grace at the FMDQ Archives Room, giving us our market updates. Stick around.
East Africa stands on a defining moment in its development journey. Our region continues to demonstrate strong economic potential with significant opportunities in infrastructure, agriculture, manufacturing, energy, housing, healthcare, education, technology, and trade. Almost feels like everything. However, we continue to face profound challenges ranging from climate change, food insecurity, unemployment, inequality, infrastructure gaps, and limited access to affordable long-term capital. This reality calls on us to embed sustainability in how we allocate capital, build infrastructure, grow businesses, and create jobs. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where the KCB Sustainability Bond Framework comes in. The use of proceeds instrument gives a disciplined mechanism through which capital raised through sustainability bonds can be directed towards eligible investments that deliver measurable environmental and social benefits. At the same time, it strengthens the connection between the capital markets and the real economy, allowing investors to participate in financing projects that are not only financially sound, but also contribute to climate resilience, environmental sustainability, social development, and inclusive economic opportunity.
Welcome back to Money Moves. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now go over to Grace for today's market reports. Hello there again, Grace.
Hi there, Melissa. Let's now take a look at how the markets traded today, beginning with the equities. The NGX All-Share Index closed on the positive today, up 0.20%, while the BRVM in Abidjan advanced 1.31% to 530.77. The Nairobi Securities Exchange edged up 0.01% to 246.29. In Southern Africa, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange rose 0.03%, while Mauritius CEMDEX gained 0.25%. And in North Africa, Morocco's MASI fell 0.33% as at 14:14 GMT. To the currencies, the rand strengthened 0.18% to 15.99, while the Egyptian pound weakened 0.04% to 50.24. The CFA franc was down 0.19% to 563.55, while the Kenyan shilling was unchanged at 129.43. The Moroccan dirham was also unchanged at 9.25, and the naira strengthened 0.17% to 1,342 naira 31 kobo as at 12:55 GMT. Let's now switch into the commodities data deck, beginning with energy prices. Brent crude gained 0.65% to $88.41, while US WTI rose 0.21% to $82.41. Natural gas advanced 1.62%, and RBOB gasoline slipped 0.42% to $3.30 as at 12:49 GMT. To metals prices, gold fell 0.22% to $4,643.10, while copper declined 0.59%. Platinum slipped 0.63%, and aluminum was up 0.03% to $3,238.85, and iron ore gained 0.19% to $95.58 as at 12:50 GMT. Now finally to soft prices. Cocoa surged 5.64%, while coffee fell 4.52% to $307.60. Cotton rose 0.77% to $89.83, and palm oil declined 2.11%. Sugar gained 1.42% to $17.84 as at 12:52 GMT. And that's our money moves markets today. Back to you, Melissa.
Grace, thank you very much for those updates on how the markets traded today. And that's it on today's edition of Money Moves. From all of us here at the FMDQ studios, we say thank you very much for watching and bye for now.